Joining me now here at the desk at the Mackinac Policy Conference is Shawn Patterson. He's Vice President of Environmental Management and Safety at DTE. It's good to see you, Shawn.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, when you walk around here at the policy conference and we see so many conversations taking place, I have to know, I'm sure people are stopping you and saying, okay, what do we need to know about the grid? What's going on with everything? What are the biggest questions that are coming to you right now?
Well, I think there's been a fair amount of press around, do we have reliable energy here this summer? And we're assuring everyone, yes, we are there to keep the lights on. We're blessed with plenty of generation here in the state, so it should not be a problem at all here at Michigan. So I want to make that clear because we hear a lot nationally around rolling blackouts and things of that nature, but we're set here in Michigan.
Okay, but then we also think about efficiencies and where things of the future are going to take us when we think about charging our electric cars that are going to be in our driveways in 10 years. And what are the things that you're working on in terms of, let's start with emissions and making things a little bit more friendly for where we live?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, so much of getting to a clean economy runs through the electric sector. We think about transportation, and which is one of the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases right now, and it's about having a clean electric grid for transportation. So at DT, we take climate change as one of the most important strategic issues of our time, and we're doing a lot right now. In fact, this week we'll be retiring a coal plant in St. Clair. By the end of the month, another one will be coming off the grid in Trenton, and when that's done, we'll have reduced our emissions on the electric grid by 35%. And then another 5 years, we'll be retiring another coal plant, we'll be at 50%. And when our last one comes off, we'll be 80% below 2005 in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. And what's replacing that is a lot of renewable sources. So putting a lot of wind and increasingly solar on the grid. We have enough wind and solar now to power over 700,000 homes. Put another $2.8 billion in renewable sources. By 2025, we'll be over 1 million homes that we can power off renewable. So it's changing quickly.
It's a lot. I was just going to say, and it changes the way that we think about energy. Can you take me kind of through the process of when you say we're shutting down a coal plant here, in another year something else is coming offline? That is not an easy thing when you make that switch. Can you take us through that process?
Yeah, it's not. One of the challenges is, and we all know living here in the state of Michigan, you know, the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine.
Out. So I was going to ask you about that.
You can't always count on these renewable sources. So what's important while we put these cleaner sources on and pull coal plants off is, what is the bridge technology? What is the firm dispatchable energy that we need? And right now we're leaning on natural gas to be that when we don't have our renewable sources. So look, we understand that reliability is critically important. So working this in a way that pulls off what we can count on and putting in place cleaner sources like natural gas that can allow for renewables to continue to be deployed, and we'll count on them to every extent that we can.
I can only imagine what the whiteboards look like in your office in terms of plotting out what the next moves and the 30-year plans that we really have in place in an industry that continues to change and also has to go on that reliability that people, when they flick the switch, it's there. They don't want any kind of interruption, and they want it to be cheap.
Affordability is a huge part of this too. $2.8 billion invested in renewable. We need to make sure that's not hitting our customers' pocketbook too hard. So we know we got to get there. We see our way to 80% reduction in our emissions, and it's going to be about some new technologies that are going to need to emerge here over the next 5, 10, 15 years. Hydrogen, carbon capture, things of that nature that are going to help us with that final tough to get, 10 to 20% emissions in carbon dioxide. But reliability is going to be critically important. Our houses are going to increasingly rely on electricity. Our transportation is going to rely on electricity. So we need to be able to provide clean, reliable energy.
Yeah, there's going to be pressure on the grid. What are some of the policies that we're looking at statewide, and now let's look federally, that can help and align with what you're doing?
Yeah, first off, to address the affordability part, if we could get some of these tax provisions that have been discussed at the federal level through, that would help enormously in terms of helping to build out more renewables and do it in a very affordable way. Increasingly, land use is getting to be a challenge, especially think about these big solar arrays and the number of acres that...
and the wind turbines,
Wind turbines. So, at the state level, working through where is that land going to be available? Can we count on some of the state-owned properties?
And how easy is that process? All I'm thinking is a lot of red tape.
Yeah. Fortunately, I think there's a strong consensus around where we need to go in terms of providing
and sometimes
clean
that
energy.
consensus hasn't always been there, Shawn. So that way, sometimes we can't take it for granted that we are now collectively moving in the same direction and thought process of what we need to do to cut emissions and to move forward to more sustainability.
And I applaud the governor and the work that Eagle has done with the My Healthy Climate Plan to start looking at these issues and getting out ahead of what you just asked, the policy issues that we need to take care of here in the state in order to make this transition happen.
So when we leave the island today and you kind of head back to work, what are the things that you're working on in the next 2 years that you're like, this is the forefront, and then I've got something else that we've got to keep on the back burner, but focus towards?
A lot of it's just working through the transition now, bringing down these coal plants. But increasingly, we're looking at how can we be a part of piloting some of these new technologies. So we're putting on a new, it just started up, a new natural gas plant. And we're looking at how can we blend hydrogen, clean hydrogen, and to offset some of the gas being consumed. So a lot of it, carbon capture and sequestration. Michigan is a great state for us to capture carbon, liquefy it, and put it deep underground. We have incredible natural resources to be able to do this. No doubt we're going to be relying on technologies like that. So a lot of it is starting to look around corners and make sure that we can be a part of bringing these technologies when we need them here over the next decade.
Where do you look in the rest of the world? Because sometimes we always look for examples and we say, they're doing it right, or I just heard about something different that's happening in Norway. Where are you looking and saying, we should really start to emulate what's happening here?
One of the nice things about our industry is a lot of the other utilities work together in a great way. So we come together, we understand what's going on in different states, what kind of models are working, the policy issues. Always looking at Europe. They tinker a lot, sometimes in a great way, sometimes in a way that we need to think about.
Right, exactly.
The unintended consequences of some moves we're making.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, thanks so much. I appreciate the time. Shawn Patterson from DTE. A lot of interesting conversations up here, would you say?
Indeed, and climate's always, and it's going to continue to be at the forefront for a long while. So
do you feel that people are finally coalescing around one specific idea that yes, we have to do something?
I think that we're definitely coalescing around the idea we need to do something. I think about what happened in last summer with 5 tornadoes, 8 storms with tropical force winds in our service territory. And I think about if you were a coastal community that had 8 tropical storms come through, I mean, that would be almost unheard of, and that's what happened with our customers. So I think absolutely people are coalescing, they're seeing the impact, and we need to do everything we can to mitigate climate change, and with that comes solutions.
Shawn Patterson, DTE, thanks so much.
Thank you,
it's good to
Christy.
see you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.